Greetings, hello, and welcome to Not All There, Sober Soiree Edition Part 4. In a world, I'm Chad. I am your host. This is my podcast, and I'm, feeling a little loopy today, everybody. This is a special Sober Soiree edition. This is recording is taken from the second soiree that we hosted back in May in Ravenswood neighborhood of Chicago. And it's a special one for me because the person that is talking is Jim. He is my sponsor. And just a few days ago, he celebrated 32 years of continuous sobriety. 32 years. That's a long ass time, Jim. And I'm coming for you, man. You might be dead before I get there, but I'm coming for you. And so before we get to Jim, I just want to let you know and remind those who don't know that July is our fundraising month here at Not All There. We're raising money for the Sober Soirée events. These events are important. We're getting the messages out. We're getting the stories out about what recovery is like and how you can help. We want to build and strengthen recovery communities. And in order to do that, you got to let people know about it. In order to let people know about it, free always for the soirees. And so in order to do that, I need your help raising money to make sure that we can put these on and do them correctly. And so there'll be a donation link in the show notes. You know what to do from there. If you're able to, any amount that you can donate is tremendous. I'm very grateful, and you're doing good by doing that and helping us out. I'm stepping aside, and you guys are going to enjoy Mr. Jim. He's my sponsor. I've known him since I got sober, and I'm just really, really proud that he's here tonight, and I'm so excited to hear what he has to say. And Jim, take it away.
Thanks, man. A little awkward holding this in the notes. Yeah, I'm Jim, and I am Chad's sponsor. I'll say this. Chad likes to leave out the fact about how that meeting started, which is now a huge meeting. It was really my idea. Because he was newly sober. I'm so busy, as you are when you're getting sober, because it's not like drinking and using when you have all sorts of time. I'm marathoning. I have little kids. I got a wife. You know, there's no meetings. If you go online, and people aren't in it, but if you go online, there's thousands of meetings. And I don't mean online meetings. I mean you can go to a brick and mortar meeting. But he would tell me that because I'd say, if you've been to a meeting, there's no meetings. There's no meetings. I said, then start your own fucking meeting. And the difference between Chad and a lot of the people is, guess what? He started his own meeting. And that's a big difference, Chad. That's great. All right. So before you folks got here, Mary and I came early. We got a chance to see Dave working his magic, telling people like the doctor here what to do, and we got snippets. And then we heard Karen interviewing them. And if I got this right, Karen, at the end you said, well, you kind of summarized so what you gentlemen are talking about is where are they now, where have they been, and where are they going? Which, my story, the story I've been struggling with all week, as I was telling Britt, because this is not a meeting, so I'm not going to give a lead, but it's not an open mic where I would just maybe tell a story and it'd be purely humorous. It's just going to be mostly humorous. It's all humorous all the time. Actually, there was a guy in high school, his name Tom Van Dyke, so I don't really remember him, but he said to me once, Herman, do you take anything seriously? Thank you, Sean. I really wanted Sean to introduce me, but my story starts, or the way I've been working on it, is Wo es kommen Sie. Wo es kommen Sie. This German archaeologist is speaking to me. It's 1999. And I'm in northern Germany at the site of an archaeological dig that is of a battle between the Romans and Germans in 9 A.D., and it was the 1,990th anniversary of that battle. It was July. And she's asking me, Wo es kommen Sie, where are you coming from? Which is what Karen made me think of. Although I was going to say that anyway. It was just odd that you got there first, and I'm impressed. So where was I coming from? Now, I had gotten CDs, and by the way, someone keep track of time. Not that it'll mean anything, but it'll... And she hit me, so I'd been practicing, and I was like, ich verstehe nicht Sie, which means I don't understand, which isn't what I said, by the way. What I said was, huh? I sort of, ich bin Amerikaner. She's like, natürlich, I'm an American. Of course you are, you goof. So she asked me, I said, well, I'm from Illinois. She turned out to be the chief archaeologist of this battlefield, which had only been found a few years before. Well, the question, how did I get here? And I got there, I've been thinking about this. I got there because of the angry part of my life, which was brief, but occurred right before I started drinking. And the angry part was I was going to Georgetown. I took a year off to make money. My dad got me 2 jobs, working in a union factory, when we still had manufacturing, in Waukegan, a blue-collar town, and serving subpoenas and summonses and lawsuits on people. And that's a real people-pleasing job. And I almost got killed. But obviously I made it. So, and it was my dad's last year of drinking. He was a brilliant guy, trial lawyer. I don't know how many cases he tried. I didn't realize it. I had never lived with him when he was, and I just watched him drink, and we would have these conversations. They'd go on, and so when I went back to school, having made money, when you could really work and make money and pay for your education, I was like super pissed. But I didn't know anything. He'd told me about A, but I didn't know anything about Al-Anon. I wasn't seeing anybody like the talented Dr. Glutz here. I didn't have the benefit of that. All I had was my anger. And I had, because of AP courses and taking extra classes, I only needed 1 more semester. I could graduate in 3.5 years, save a shitload of money. A semester cost like $2,000. Can you imagine that? And housing was more, not counting books. So I want to get out and, save the money. Well, I'm so pissed off, I start fighting with every professor, And I finished in the class, and I had 4 classes. I only needed 4. One was Chaucer, Middle English. One was a philosophy class. You know Chaucer? Can you recite the intro in Middle English?
Wonderful in the shortest sota, the truth of marsh, has paired to the rota, and bothered every vein and sweet liquor.
And the fair is acre with the sweat, the breath, and spirit hath, and every holt and hath the tender crapus. Anyway, so that, I did not memorize that until I was doing my 4th step. It was a class assignment, and I blew it off, and then I eventually, did it. So I had these 4 classes. One was macroeconomics. Well, one class is world history, and this brilliant guy, Bill Braxton, his theory was that Hitler and the Nazis came to power because the Romans never conquered Germania. And so the Germans always maintained the culture of loyalty to the leader, to the Führer, instead of to the state. So in Rome, if you think about the legions are carrying that little stick, and at the top is a rectangle, on top of that is the eagle. And everyone always talks about the eagle. Don't you guys always talk about that? Oh, my God. Yeah, thank you, Sean. What is that eagle? Well, the eagle is standing on a little block that has the letters SPQR, Senatus Populesque Romanorum, the Senate and people of Rome. Loyalty to the state, loyalty to the institutions. The Germans never had that. And this is the kind of thing that, as you may have gathered, really interests me. But I was so pissed off. Yeah, I know, you're like, I was so pissed off, I didn't pursue it, for which you're very lucky. Yeah, and then a few years later, I had a good friend who was interested in these kinds of things with me, Robert Crawford. And the Empire Strikes Back had come out. Yeah, Strikes Out. Yeah, didn't they? I think that's what happened. They destroyed the second star. Can you imagine the defense budget of the Empire? I mean, give me a break. So the taxes. Anyway, the little fuzzy people wipe out. What are they called? Yeah, you guys are good. They get rid of the stormtroopers in the forest. My friend Robert goes, that's just like how those Roman legions got wiped out in the Teutoburgerwald. And I was like, yeah, that's what I said. And I was like, that is so interesting. So that's 1983. I didn't pursue that yet. But eventually, I became a lawyer and all this and that. Was that the clock? And, I got married to Susan, and it's the early 90s, and I have 4 sisters and a brother. And this is like, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but at Vic's service yesterday in the temple, his sister got up and said some amazing things. It was really, their relationship must have been awesome. And I talked to her afterwards, and that kind of locked in what I wanted to talk about. I have these 4 sisters, 2 of whom got in the program ahead of me, and 2 who, they're all younger. We're only 7 years apart, but that's a huge gap, when you're busy drinking. Little sisters don't count for a lot. I hate to say it. So I didn't pay. Jamie and Jennifer were the littlest, and they went to U of I, and they're brilliant. They went to Chicago and all that. But I didn't pay any attention to them. None. I had like 0 relationship. I mean, I was living with them when I was in law school, and I'd come down Clark Street to the Cabaret Metro to party and dance to the 80s tunes and watch the people in the orange jumpsuits. Be like, oh, that's cool. And but I would never talk to them. The only thing I knew about them is they were into romance fiction. Now, these girls are like, one has a UFC MBA, one's UFC law, but their bedroom was filled with these romance novels. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And they're like, Jimmy, if you read them, you'd understand. That was like the extent of my relationship. I think occasionally they'd call for relationship advice, which I have to admit I'm a master at, and, at least in the moment. So that was about it. And then I get a slip of paper. It's the early 90s. Actually, it's April of 1993 from my wife, Susan, and it's got a doctor's name on it. And he's an addiction specialist. And yeah, I know. I'm giving you the credit in your profession. So I went to Mark McGovern. Okay, so we got Professor Bill Braxton, we got my friend Robert Crawford, Susan, who I married, and then Mark McGovern. That was April 93, and because of him, he laid the groundwork where I finally said to my dad, who'd now been sober, because he got sober as soon as I went back to school and got pissed off. So, like, I go to Allen, and I got nothing to complain about because my major qualifier's in recovery. Like, what do you do? So, 93, I get sober. It's July. And I lose my fancy downtown job, believe it or not. Does that happen to you, Sean? And so now I need work. Well, my dad's like, okay, I can join his firm because I'm sober. And then my sister, who's got the real talent in the next generation, comes and joins us. And we're doing these cases. And in the downtime, I'm like, she's living in New York. She's super smart. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing when you're not practicing law? She says, I'm learning how to write romance novels. And I was thinking, I could do that. I just got to read a few. So show me some pages. So I decided that I'm going to write a romance novel, but I need a setting. I need a dramatic moment. I need a pivot in history around which this is before Cameron did it with Titanic, okay? Let's be clear. And by the way, I can tell you why the Titanic really sank. All right, next time. Okay, so I'm going to write a romance novel, and I'm going to set it in that battle. You know, the pivotal moment's going to be a battlefield where my friend said the Wookiees wiped out the 3 Roman legions in the Teutoburgerwald. That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to set it there. So I start writing the novel, which is still in boxes. So if you go look for it, unlike Brit, who is published, I am not. So now I'm thinking, okay, but I'm writing, and my wife, Susan's a very talented, brilliant woman in my life. She's going to Northwestern Law. She's transactional. She does a lot of reading. So I'm giving her the pages. I'm like, what do you think? And she'll give me the markups. So I'm thinking, the markups aren't too bad. She must think this is pretty good shit. Well, then, like, after a while, she gives me a little slip of paper from what was called the Pioneer Press. And it's a cutout of an ad. This guy, Walt Oleski, whose name I remember, is to join a writers group. She's like, maybe you should join a writers group. What? So I joined the writers group, and then somehow, so I'm working on my novel called Roman Quest, which is in 3 books with 3 subparts, so that's 9. I think I've got, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of words, but I don't have any, I haven't been there. I feel like I need to get on the ground. So I got to go to Germany and see this place where my characters are going to like converge. And somehow love will come out of the crucible of the battle. Don't tell me how, but So I'm maybe not really a romance writer, but I do have female characters that are falling in love, because what really happened is Augustus Caesar passed a law saying all the Roman women had to get married. So that's really gets the story going. But so I get a ticket. I'm going to go to Germany. I say to Susan, let's go to Germany and see the battlefield, and we can look at some Roman shit, you know, like on the Rhine and forts and aqueducts. She's, no. You can go by yourself. And so I did. When I had my two brilliant sisters, one of them now was in London. She'd married a guy she met at USC, a Scot, named Hugh. And she's had just had a baby the year before. She says, well, I'll meet you, because we, you know, I'm like, Jamie, what? Okay, 5. Good. What? 5 more? All right. I'm there. We're almost to the Tudo Burger Vault. Are you feeling it? So I get to Germany, and I go to the battlefield, and they're reenacting it, dressed like Romans, and I meet the archaeologists. I meet the man who found the battlefield. He rose up in a canoe, and I happen to have his book, so I get it autographed. So I've met, like, the major people, and then my sister arrives, and we go to museums and stuff, and she brings her son, Callum, my nephew, her first child, along. And we drive down the Rhine. And it's gorgeous. You know, it's July. The sun's up till 10 there. And I'm thinking, well, what happened? I got to have some momentous for my story. But I can't think of what it is. These people aren't going to give a shit about what happened in the Tudo Burger Vault, where 3 legions got wiped out. And, you know, Hitler could rise to power. I got to find something they're going to relate to. Because believe it or not, I ran this story by my mother. She says, it's not very good. It's not very engaging. Don't tell it. Thanks, Mother. So I called my sister, Jamie. I said, what happened? Give me some, you know, something that people are going to like. And let's see. I've got it highlighted here. What did she say? We went to the Roman-German Museum in Cologne. We had dinner halfway up a hillside looking over the Rhine. We went to the amphitheater, Roman amphitheater in Trier. We drove through the Black Forest, and a German man, came out screaming in his underwear. That sounds like a German, which I didn't remember that. That could have been me if I'd still been drinking, right? We drove on the Autobahn. Well, I drove at high speed, which was very tight due to construction. My camera didn't work. She said Callum played in a fountain in front of the Cologne Cathedral, which is the only thing the Allies' bombing didn't destroy. We ate Wiener Schnitzel. She remembers the reenactors and their funny outfits. They were Roman. They were very authentic, Jamie. Well, then she says, but the most important thing, Jim, I was like, oh, boy, here we go. This is the big moment. She says, Callum had a cold, and he was covered in his own snot. And I've written this down. She says, my big memory for you, Jim, is that you wiped the snot off of my new son. It's like, holy shit. We're standing at the pivot of history, the fate of the Western world, and that's what she remembers. So coming back to where Karen was, when I went to the O'Hare Airport to start my trip, I practiced my German, and the Lufthansa agent in her yellow outfit said to me, I'm like very excited as I'm about to get started. She said, if I can say it in German, Wohin gehst du? Or Wohin gehen Sie? Which is, where are you going? And that's, I have 2 more minutes? Okay. So I realized where I was going. I thought I was going to see this pivotal moment in history. What I was really going to do was to have a relationship with my sister that I had never had because I was drinking. All right, and I was at this point 6 years sober. It's a long deferred piece of business. That's the end of that story. So now I want a little bit. My father was an accomplished trial lawyer. I wanted to be like him, but drinking helped him be better, and it did not help me. Even though I would take many seminars, you know, there was a lawyer called Corboy. He was a super talented guy, do all the airline play. I'd go to his seminars, and he had one in particular on experts, like psychologists and healthy people. And he said, when you get your expert on the stand, Don't interrupt him with a lot of questions. Just step back and listen to the music, which is what we're now going to have from Dr. Gluss and Britt Brandon.
Jim always knows how to stick the landing, man. He is a tremendous storyteller. Just when you think you don't quite know where you're going, you end up right where you're supposed to be. Thanks for listening. Jim, thank you again for participating in that. It really means a lot. Your friendship, I love you, man. I don't know what more to say than I love you and thank you for everything that you've done for me and will continue to do for me. And for those of you out there that like this content generated through the Sober Soirées, please do donate. We'd like to keep these free for people, and we'd like to host them as often as we can. In order to do that, we need sponsorship and donations in order to make that happen. You'll find a link to donate in the show notes. All right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. And before I do so, make sure you give yourself a big hug because you deserve it. Make sure that you're kind and loving to yourself and to others. Let's spread a little joy, a little love. Let's be kind, and let's listen a little more than yell. Okay? Listen before we yell. Can we do that? All right, I'm going to go take a nap. I will talk to you guys next time. Take care. Bye.